not there yet. There aren't 7 billion human lives happening on this planet. But this isn't about today. This is about when there are 7 billion people, and it's about what happens when there isn't enough energy to keep every one of them living how they like to. This is about the future. It's about energy, oil, and it's also about dreadlocks.
It starts with an itch and a tingle, and then it builds and expands. And suddenly, all at once, my legs won't let me stand. I scratch till my fingers go numb, but my skin never bleeds. A silent accomplice waits and feeds when I'm asleep. Something that lives inside me. I promise I never let it end. Oh.
It is only recently that we have begun to move out of the recession that's brought the economy to a low. Now we are recovering from it, can't we go back to the steady growth it was experienced from 1980s to 2008? On to bigger and better things that will keep on improving lives? Unfortunately, it's that very growth that is the problem. Energy consumption is increasing exponentially, while resources are finite. Progress and advancement has always been based on cheap and available energy, and now there is not enough oil. A simple fact, but to really understand it, and to understand why its implications are so close and so dangerous, the exponential function needs to be understood. The exponential function is a simple mathematical function that describes the size of anything that is growing steadily, for example at 5% per year. This growth takes a fixed amount of time to grow by a fraction. For instance, it takes a year to grow by the fraction of 5%. If it takes a fixed length of time to grow by 5%, then it will take a longer length of time to grow 100%. This time is called the doubling time and can be easily calculated. We calculate the doubling time, the time taken for anything growing steadily to double in size, by dividing the percentage growth per unit time into 70. So if we wanted to find the doubling time of our 5% growth per year, then we divide 5 into 70, and so get a result of 14 years. The oldest example of the power of this function comes from the story of a man who presented the king of Persia with a beautiful new chessboard. The king said, "This is a wonderful gift, how can I reward you?" The king was surprised when the man said, "Simply place 1 piece of wheat on the first square of the chessboard, then place 2 on the second, 4 on the third, and so on until the whole board is covered." The king thought, "This foolish man! I was willing to give him anything, and all he asked for was just a few grains of wheat." But just how much wheat did he ask the king for? The answer is approximately 400 times the 1990 worldwide harvest of wheat. A vast amount, but a number easily arrived at by letting a very small amount keep growing steadily. But what does any of this have to do with energy? Energy consumption, though it fluctuates due to market forces or temporary supply difficulties, grows steadily. Oil consumption grew steadily until 1973, when OPEC raised the price of oil. It was also growing more or less steadily from 1983 until the 2008 credit crunch. But after overcoming the recession, is there any reason why we shouldn't return to this steady increase in our energy consumption? The reason we can't do that now is that we have passed, or will very soon pass, a point called peak oil. Peak oil is to do with the rate of crude oil extraction from the ground, and it actually occurs quite often, but on a small scale. When an oil field is established, it takes a time to make production efficient, and so the production rate grows exponentially until the rate reaches a peak, the highest production rate it can manage. Then the rate of production declines, sometimes very rapidly, as the oil is depleted, until it is gone completely. This can happen on a global scale. The production rate reaching its peak, its highest level, and then declining rapidly until there is none left at all. Here you can see the peak. The oil will probably have lasted about 200 to 300 years, in the entirety of human history, that is barely noticeable. Possibly man's greatest energy resource, and it will last barely a second from the perspective of the whole of human history. But why does this happen so quickly? Why does the decline come so fast? The answer comes from the fact that the growth is exponential. It can best be explained through a classic example. Imagine a bottle with bacteria inside it. The cell doubles itself once every minute. At 11 AM there is only one cell inside the bottle. At 12 noon, we just found that the bottle is full. When was the bottle half full? The answer is at 11:59, because at 11:59 half the bottle was full, and then in that minute, every cell doubled itself, and suddenly the whole bottle was full. The real question is, at what point would those bacteria realise they were running out of space? Would it be at 11:56, 11:58, at 11:59? At what point will it become obvious to us that the resource that drives our modern world is in danger of rapidly disappearing? Will it be too late by then? If we realise at the point that the bacteria realise at 11:59, then we will have very little time before the massive amount of oil consumption dries up the last few drops of oil. What do we do then? What will happen in that new world? There are a lot of questions. What good are questions without answers?